So we're going to be talking about VSLs today. If you don't know what a VSL is, it is a video sales letter. It's probably the most vital thing to high ticket funnels, I would say today, like in the industry today. I think if you do not have one of these that is well done, you probably don't have an offer that's working, to be honest with you. So, or at least not an offer that's going to be able to scale with cold traffic. At least is probably a better way of putting that. We'll go ahead and share screen. I know, I think it's important to do just a really quick refresher from last week's training, because what we're going to talk about today specifically is the VSL itself. But I think it's good to understand really quick recap on, you know, where does that even fit into this whole picture? So really quick high level recap. We've got our beautiful ads, and we basically send our traffic from these ads to this funnel, right? And so they hit a landing page, they opt in for this amazing training or case study that you're offering, and then we show them the VSL, right? So this is step 2 here typically in the funnel. And again, this is like the vital component that you need. If you do not have this done well, it doesn't matter how good the rest of everything that you've built is. It literally doesn't matter if your ads are great, landing page is great, your emails are great. Like if this doesn't work, it's probably not going to work overall. So
for sure,
just really crucial that you get that down. Anything that you want to add there, Dakota?
Yeah, I would say this funnel that we have on the screen now, there's a training that Caleb did a couple weeks ago that dives into this funnel a little bit more in depth. This is like the standard VSL funnel that I would say, 99% of high ticket course creators will have success with if they really, really dig into how to make this funnel work. But that being said, you can see all the different pieces of it here. Like Caleb said, the VSL itself is the lifeblood of this funnel. So, VSL stands for video sales letter. Video sales letter is basically just a video that's designed to sell, right? We call this the VSL funnel, but in reality, this VSL piece, like the video sales letter piece, I would call it, like, if I could rebrand it, I would, because it's not necessarily sales, okay? This is not really, like this funnel here is not really a webinar funnel where, on a lot of webinar funnels, you end the funnel with a pitch to purchase, right? You kind of go through your product features, you go through the benefits, almost like an infomercial, right? And on a lot of like traditional VSLs. This standard VSL funnel, we almost want to rebrand it at a certain point because this is actually educational sales. So it's really, instead of a sales letter, it's really an educational piece, right? So, instead of thinking of it in terms of like, hey, I need to get people to watch this video where I sell my service, really what this video is for is it educates your prospects on why your service works and why right now is the best time for them to, join with you and on whatever product that you're selling eventually. But the whole point of this funnel here is that the VSL is the educational piece that makes them build that desire up to where, oh man, I have to have this. Now I'm going to book a call with the team, right? And that booking on the next page, that is where the actual sale happens. So it's really important to distinguish that because we're going to jump into the VSL itself and how to kind of structure it, how the flow should go. But if you don't have that understanding of the fact that the VSL is not actually selling, it's mostly building desire and building trust to get to the point where on that sales call, you're selling.
Right? So good, dude. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, definitely a point to drive home is like, you're not selling, right? You're just providing that value and getting them to want to book. This is where you sell. So huge, dude. Cool. So now this is just a quick recap. If anybody has questions, also feel free to put them in the chat. It's because it's Facebook Live. It usually takes maybe 30 seconds or so for it to come through. But if you have questions on this, let us know. And then, we can kind of hop back to it if you do. But the next piece I think that I want to jump into is talking about just the slides overall. There's going to be I've got 3 tabs up here today. We're going to kind of go over, obviously, the funnel. We're going to talk a little bit about a checklist that are some of the things that, you should have inside of your VSL. And this is a really good kind of cheat sheet as you're building out to make sure that you kind of checked all the boxes in your presentation. But then also we're going to go over an actual slide deck, which is just kind of like a bare bones template, obviously like no branding or anything here. It's just to kind of showcase like what to talk about and how to structure your conversation. So, or your presentation. So the first thing that I want to say and Dakota, I'd love your opinions on this too, but is that you should 1000% have slides. Okay, so if you're in the process of thinking through a VSL and you want to like get a new VSL out there, one of the questions we get all the time is, well, hey, should I like, post up a camera and do like a nice high quality production thing and get some like, a nice intro done with maybe some like animations or graphics in the video to just kind of show that like, I'm really professional and all of that. And the reality is that we've tested both. We've tested a ton of different VSLs. And what I can tell you is that 99% of the time, a VSL with a very solid and well done slide deck outperforms the fanciest, most highly edited VSLs. I don't know, Dakota, if you'd agree with that, but
yes, not only is the slide deck like good for keeping the viewer like engaged with what's actually going on and what you're talking about, but also it keeps you as like the person talking on focus, because people, as you know, like to go on tangents, especially if you're talking about something you're passionate about, right? If you just like get in front of a camera and start talking, chances are you're going to go down, rabbit holes that are not going to help your prospect learn about what you're trying to talk about. So the slide deck is like twofold. It's number one, people are used to learning visually, and so it helps with that. And number two, it keeps you on track when you're actually presenting. So, does it look old fashioned? Yeah, sure. I guess so. But, a marketer doesn't care about what you think is going to work, right? Like as a marketer, you shouldn't be thinking about would I look at this and like it. If you're hitting the right pain points and you're hitting the right market with what you're talking about, like the method of delivery doesn't matter nearly as much as people want to make it matter.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. Exactly. So just wanted to touch on that because slides are ridiculously important. So first off, if you're thinking about not doing slides, I would highly recommend that you do use the slides. Now, before we roll through all of these slides, I think it's better to look at the checklist because this is kind of like a high level overview of everything that's in this presentation. So we're going to kind of go over the three big components to a VSL, right? Like what are the three big things that you have to do and do really well? And then we'll kind of go into a little bit further detail and talk about kind of each of these and different ways to approach them. But this is absolutely a checklist that like if I'm you, I'm like screenshotting this or basically trying to save this data for yourself whenever you're going ahead and starting to write. So the first component is the introduction. Okay. And this is really, really, really important because I don't know if you've probably seen online people talk about like YouTube and ads and things, right? And like how people's attention spans are very, very short nowadays. And the last thing that you want to do is start off your video with something that just is boring or unrelated to your prospect. And then they just click away. Right. And then you've lost them. Right. So your job is to really bring them in and hook them in right up front. And this needs to be aligned with what you had on your landing page, right? So we talked a little bit about that here. Your ad needs to say the same thing as your landing page. Your landing page needs to say the same thing as your VSL. We call that being congruent, right? And if you're not congruent, it basically creates a very choppy journey for your lead and they end up not knowing what you're actually trying to do for them. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you're congruent, make sure that you have a good hook. Another really important thing in the introduction is to qualify yourself, right? So you should be proving to them really quickly how you are qualified to basically do this training, right? So for instance, for us, right, if we're doing a training on like Facebook ads, I'd probably start off the training with saying, hey, we've spent over $40 million on Facebook ads, right? So everything that you hear in this training is coming from that knowledge we've learned spending that much money, right? So that's one of the things that you have to do at the beginning because the person is going to be asking themselves, I don't know who you are, so why should I listen to you, right? And totally, you have to be able to answer that.
And with the qualify part too, I think a lot of people think that like you either have to have some crazy accomplishment or you have to be famous or something for that qualify piece to like matter. But a lot of times, depending on what you're talking about or if you're running ads for someone else, what they're talking about, it really just has to qualify that specifically what you're talking about in this presentation. So, like an example could be, let's say that you're teaching people, how to eat properly to lose weight, right? You don't need to be famous. You don't need to have a huge following to have authority on that topic. You just need to have done it yourself, right? And so, if you can show that sort of piece of, how to qualify yourself just showing like before and after pictures of you, on how you've gone through this journey and how now you're helping other people do it. Like that would be enough for a qualify yourself, right? It doesn't always have to be something incredibly impressive. It just has to be really relative to what the VSL is talking about.
Yep. Exactly, dude. It's so true. And because like a lot of people are starting out too, and it's like, how do you do that if you just don't have this crazy amount of experience? You know what I mean? So, dude, yeah, totally agree. Okay, so next one is bold promise. This one very closely relates to the hook. So this is something like if I said, hey, I'm going to show you how to how to launch Facebook ads without needing an agency or whatever. What I would probably want to say is in that bold promise is, hey, look, if you watch this presentation all the way through, you will absolutely know how to launch a Facebook ad without having to hire somebody else, right? So it's like you want to basically make this bold promise like, hey, look, if you go through this whole thing, you will be able to do X, Y, Z, right? And that gives the person this feeling of, okay, cool, now I want to watch the whole thing because I actually want to achieve that goal. And it lets them know what they can expect by the end. And it's important that you actually also deliver on that. So bold promise is really, really important. Another big one, hook to the end, right? So you want to be able to actually the whole idea is how can I keep them watching, right? How can I keep them still staying in the video? And so you can also dangle some carrots for them and say something like, hey, look, if you get to the end of this VSL, I'm going to show you how you can get my ebook totally free. Or, hey, I'm going to give you my template or my script to this thing, right? Or whatever it might be, right? So you want to kind of give them these little carrots of, hey, if you really do stick through the whole thing, you'll be able to get this. So that's really important as well. Future pacing. Okay, this one's huge. Dakota, you're actually really great at this. I love working with you when we start writing out like future pacing for clients and things. But what we mean by future pacing is you have to be able to get the person watching to picture their circumstances after going through your training and like succeeding with your method. So a really, really good visual for this is teeth whitening, right? So when you're watching like an Orbit gum commercial, right? What is the lady doing every single time, right? She's dirty mouth, clean it up or whatever, right? Orbit freshman, right? The whole thing is she's getting you to picture your mouth being clean and shiny and fresh. And that's future pacing, right? It's saying, hey, if you use this thing, this is what your life is going to look like, right? And so with us, now gums obviously a very, very short timeline there, but with us, we need to be doing that with, if someone comes in and uses our services, right? What will their life be like? What does that outcome look like? And you have to be able to get them to picture that in your introduction as well. Right. So that's huge. I don't know, Dakota, if you want to talk a little bit about that at all, but this is a really, really big piece.
It's really, and it goes back to ads too, which we'll have a topic, we'll have a live training on ads here in the near future, but it's benefit statements, so something that people who are early on in marketing kind of miss, I think, is they're quick to like talk about pain. They're quick to say like, I don't know, let's stick with the gum example. Like, do people close to you keep telling you that your breath stinks? If you smile and you look at your picture, later, are you happy with the smile you see? Like they're quick to kind of talk about those because people resonate with pain and they're like, oh yeah, that's me. But they're not as good at driving home a benefit in that same statement. And, like as an example, let's just say, hey, for ads, it's like, hey, join our free training. We're talking about how to run Facebook ads. Like that's cool if you know what Facebook ads can do for you. But if you don't know what Facebook ads can do for you, I don't really care if you're teaching me Facebook ads, right? Because ultimately I need to know what's in it for me. What's the benefit? And so you could reframe that and say, hey, join our free training. We're teaching you how to use Facebook ads so that you never have an empty calendar again.
Yep.
Like you just add on this little benefit at the end. And now all of a sudden the user or the person that's kind of like reading this says, oh, I have an empty calendar now. This can fix that. I need this. So that's true, what future pacing is. It's the benefit at the end of the hook.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And it's so good because then you can get them to picture that scenario, right? So if they do have an empty calendar, then like in the VSL, one of the things you could be saying here, right, is like, if you use this method correctly, your calendar is going to be so full, you need to start hiring sales reps, right? And you're like just getting them to picture that whole thing, dude. So that's such a good example. Love that. Cool. Okay, next one. Authority, borrowing, credibility. All right. So this one's similar to qualifying yourself, but really, I think one of the bigger things here, at least for me, that I've seen work well is not only should you be saying things that get them to feel that you're qualified or feel that you have authority, but you should also be using it in your posture and how you're communicating about these things, because people can see that when you're on video, right? This is a video, right? And so they can see you. And if you come across as like wishy-washy or shaky in how you feel about things, they're going to immediately click away, right? They want to feel like they're going to learn something from somebody that has the authority and power to speak about that thing, right? So first off, you should come across that way. And then the second thing is you can also borrow credibility, right? So here, this is a really, really great hack. Again, if you're like earlier, you're getting started, because one of the things that you can do here is use other areas to pull in credibility for yourself, right? So let's say again, that like Facebook ads, let's just keep doing that because we've been talking about that, right? One of the things that you might want to pull here as stat is like how much businesses are currently spending on Facebook ads, right? Because now you're pulling in credibility that maybe isn't necessarily directly related to you, right? But it's directly related to what you're going to be talking about in the presentation, right? So there's that. There's also, I mean, different areas here. We could talk about testimonials, right? Bringing in other people in to talk about how great you are. And there's, I don't know, Dakota, if you have other examples, but like being able to pull credibility from other places is huge.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I love it. And, when we go into the slide template later, we can kind of hit on some of these things that maybe we don't go in depth on here just for the sake of time, because I know the slide template's pretty long too. I want to be able to get through it all for everybody.
Yes. Okay, we'll start flying through. And Jason, I just saw your comment. It's you're 100% right, bro. Like competitor research, dialing in like your audience, your avatar, understanding your offer, like all of that comes first before this. So you're 100% right, man. If you don't do your research, you don't know what you're writing about, then yeah, you're not going to be able to future pace. You're not going to be able to write a good VSL. So yes, Dakota, you're totally right. We need to get to the slides. So we'll start being a little bit quicker as we move through these. So we'll be fast, but you should have a story that can be about yourself, right? You can kind of use your come up story, right? Your zero to hero sort of a thing. If you don't have one of those, you can tell a story about a client, right? Without maybe giving away all of their whole life story and their name, right? But like you could use a story of a client, you could use a business story, you could use a story that came up in the news, right? But the thing is, people relate to stories. So you should absolutely include at least one in your VSL. Next is digging into pain. Okay, everything here is important, but this one is like extremely, extremely important. Okay, like this is so huge, because if you don't tap into the pain that they have, they're not going to feel compelled to talk with you later on, right? Like you have to show that you understand their pain, you understand like what they're actually going through, because what that communicates to them is, wow, this person gets it. This person really understands me. They know where I'm at, right? And now I feel like they since they've been there, maybe they can help, right? And so this is really huge. This point isn't written down to be like, you need to just make like everybody that watches your videos feel like crap. That's definitely not the point of this. The point is to like make them feel that you can relate, right? You've been through this and you have a solution now. That's the feeling.
Yeah, and ultimately too, it's a good point, Caleb, because non-marketers would see this and probably be like, ooh, what? Pain, but at the end of the day, like if your product or your solution solves the problem effectively that these people have that are watching this, then you want them to actually think through the problem, right? Because ultimately you're positioning what you're doing, what you're passionate about, as the solution to their problem. And if it really is the solution to their problem, then there's no moral like downside to making them think about the problem, right? It's the same with the gum. It's like, hey, if you really don't have white teeth or whatever, and you want white teeth, I need you to understand that you don't have them first before you can want them, right? And so it's not really, it's interesting because like the pain piece is sort of like a question mark for a lot of people when they're new to marketing, like, are we taking advantage of persuasive technique or something? But ultimately, self-awareness is not a skill that a lot of people have. And so you're kind of helping people become self-aware of their situation, through this piece here.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's one of those things, like you said. It's like when people first get into marketing, it's like, ooh, this is like one I might feel weird about, but I can assure you that almost every successful advertising campaign that you see, they're tapping into some sort of problem or pain, right? It's just like that's part of
Totally.
being able to provide a solution, right? If there was no pain, there would be no solutions. So cool. All right. So teaching in body. Introduction is quick, right? This should probably be, I would say under 5 minutes in your intro, especially depending on how long you spend on the pain. Teaching in body, this is going to be
And really
the
quick
goal.
there, Caleb, on the timing of it, the one piece that people spend too much time on in that introduction is like their own story. Like
So true.
like so avoid that at all costs. Please don't tell people about your life story from when you were born, what your hometown was, where you went to grade school. Like, I know that it's tempting because you're trying to like make people trust you and build that authority, but no one has the time to listen to that, and that's where we see a huge drop off in VSL numbers, is if that like
Yes.
personal story is too long.
Yes. Move quick. Like move quick throughout the whole thing, guys. Like you should never feel like you're lingering or like things are getting stale, right? Everything that you're saying should feel punchy and feel like it has a purpose, and then you're on to the next, right? When you stay on one slide, right? Like if we'll talk about that here in a second, but when you stay on one slide for just way too long, it's just absolutely atrocious. So, yeah, really good point, Dakota. So teaching in body, this is the bulk of your presentation. This is where you want to put all of your expertise and knowledge. Really, this is where this is going to sit. So typically we recommend 3 main steps or 3 main secrets, 3 main components, whatever word you want to use there. But these are like the 3 parts to the training that you're going to kind of break up so it feels digestible, right? So first we're going to go over this, then we're going to go over this, and then we're going to wrap up with this, right? That's how that should feel. We'll show you some examples. Inside of these steps, you need to be breaking and rebuilding belief patterns, right? So if we're going to keep up with the Facebook ads thing that we've been talking about, right? It's like, hey, look, so many people out there are talking about how Facebook ads are dead, right? Facebook's been around forever. You have these new kids on the block like TikTok and YouTube, right? Well, I want to show you a screenshot of a client that we have right now that has made $50,000 in the last week on Facebook ads, right? You're basically taking what everybody else is saying in the industry or what they currently believe to be true, and you're saying actually that's really not what's happening. Here's what's happening, and you rebuild a belief that basically supports the rest of the presentation and your unique method. So that's huge. Definitely you should make sure that you're doing this. Handle main objections. Okay, you should know these before you start writing your VSL. When someone gets on a call with you, okay, later after the VSL, what are the things that they are going to say that basically they object to you purchasing your program, right? Is it, hey, I don't have enough time. Hey, I actually don't think that I want to invest in Facebook ads because of XYZ. Whatever it is, right? You need to have a list of those objections, and you should be handling those here in the VSL. Why? So that you don't have to handle them on the call. Right? If your VSL is good and it's well thought out, you're handling those objections here. So when they get to the call, you don't even have to really have those conversations, right? So, yep. Or if you do, you're simply reminding them of what they've already seen you talk about before. Okay. So, cool. We got some questions in the chat. John Darius, how does it work?
I got John's here. John, what's up, man? So Caleb, John was a student at the school I taught at a few years ago.
Oh, what's up, John? Welcome,
great to see you, dude. So he asked, how does it work if we don't have a product to sell? Do we outsource to a company who needs marketing help? Yeah, so basically this training could work in one of 2 ways. Like, we're kind of positioning it as, let's just say, you do have a product to sell. This is how you could market it. But we don't do that, right? Right now, we're not selling a product on our own through this method. We have plans to in the future, but what we offer as a service is we do this for clients, right? So, similar to how a marketing agency functions. So this is a vital skill to do marketing, whether or not you're marketing your own product or you're providing this, to people who have a product and just need more leads, need more calls on the calendar, need more sales, right? And so either way, we're designing AdClass to kind of fit both of those boxes, to where anybody can learn how to run ads and make money, whether it's for their own business or for other businesses. So hopefully that clarifies it. But yeah, dude, no worries that you're new to it. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being here, and happy to help.
Yeah, good, good question, John. Man, thanks for popping in. So yeah, so I think that's it for main objections, guys. Basically, just you should be handling them here so you don't have to handle them later. Best way for me to put it. Next, social proof student success. This one's pretty self-explanatory. If you have anybody that has had success with your process before, you should talk about it here, right? And the thing is, you can sprinkle it through the presentation. You don't have to just lump it all into the end or lump it all in the beginning. What's really great is that if you have a student or a member, this is kind of a quick tip, is if you're going through one of these main steps and you feel like what you're teaching is relevant to one of your clients. So let's say that like step one on is like you want to be able to like write a good ad. Okay, if that's we're still on the Facebook ads thing, right? So in step one, if I'm teaching on writing a good ad, if I have a student named Bob, and Bob, like when they were able to finally write an ad, that's what made all the difference. And then they wrote this successful ad, and that ad has now ran for 6 months or whatever. I would probably want to talk about that here in step one because it relates, right? So you can sprinkle in testimonials so they don't even have to feel like a testimonial. It's just you basically being like, yeah, and here's what happened with Bob whenever he actually did this thing, you know? So that's a really, really quick and easy way to incorporate testimonials. Next is you're going to reveal the solution. So this is big. You shouldn't be talking about what your unique method is until you get to this point. So all of this stuff, right? All of this stuff, you're talking about like qualifying yourself, you're digging into the pain, you're teaching them about how like that your basically your method works, but you shouldn't be actually revealing your solution until it's time to reveal it, right? Because when you do this, what the goal is here is it's supposed to be like a wow factor or a surprise. If you've been talking about this thing throughout the whole presentation, it doesn't feel like a big reveal later on, right? This needs to feel like, and so all of this leads me to this process that we're using right now called the XYZ system, right? Or the XYZ method or the XYZ whatever, right? And so this is really, really huge because you have to make it feel like a big reveal. If you don't, again, it just feels like you've been talking about it the whole time and it doesn't feel special, right? So this has to feel special. Lastly, you segue into the close, into the close with a frame. So basically you're saying like, hey, like I'm now moving into the CTA, but obviously you don't say that on thing. This is what you're thinking. But like when you're moving into the close, essentially you're saying, cool. So now that we've gone through all of that, I want to show you how you can get involved with this method, or I want to show you like what the next steps to take would be here. Okay. And then this is what the close looks like. This is probably going to be like the last three to 5 minutes of your VSL. If we're talking about like a standard 20 to 30 minute VSL here, this is going to be like your last 3 to 5 minutes, I would say. And then we move in through here. I'm going to be quick so that we can get over to the slides. You're going to do a soft CTA. So basically what you're going to say here is, look, if you think that the XYZ process can help you out, I'd love to actually connect with you. And so that we can help you out, right? I'd like for you to book a call with our team. Then right immediately afterwards, you're going to inject scarcity and urgency so they understand why they should book now, right? So, hey, look, our team has actually been getting a ton of calls recently. So if you actually want to do this, you need to get in now because blah, 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 right? One of the things, we wrote one for someone that was on TV recently. One of the things that we said was, hey, our new season of our TV show is coming out soon. That's going to cause a flood of traffic coming in. So if you want to actually chat with us, you need to do it now before that season rolls out. So just inject some sort of scarcity, some sort of urgency. Then you go ahead and hit them with an unbelievable guarantee, right? So Dakota and I are big fans of Hormozy. I don't know, Dakota, if you want to talk about guarantees here, but yeah, this is huge. So,
well, I mean, like a guarantee is what people think of when you think of a guarantee, which is like, you know, infomercial, like your money back guaranteed, right? If your satisfaction guaranteed, basically. But that's not really saying anything. People are so used to hearing, you know, 100% satisfaction guaranteed that doesn't actually mean anything anymore. And so what we mean by guarantee here is, yeah, definitely read Alex Hormozy's book, $100 Million Offers, watch his courses. Like this is definitely a concept from him that's blown up in our space recently, which is basically the idea that if you really believe in your product, in your solution, you should be willing to meet a prospect halfway and guarantee its success for them. So one of the guarantees that we've seen recently, this is not a brand we run. It's Clients and Community, which they're crushing it right now. Great company. You know, from what we can see on the outside, one of their guarantees is basically you'll make a certain amount of money in 30 days. I forget what the number is, Caleb. Maybe you remember it. Maybe it's like, let's just say you'll make $5,000 in 30 days, or we will work with you until you do.
Yep.
So that guarantee is not necessarily you'll make this much money no matter what, guaranteed, but it's if you don't have success in that first period of time, we will work with you one-on-one until you have success. That's how much we believe in our program. I love that guarantee because it's like it proves that we still have trust that this is going to work, but it puts the ball in their court as well. We can talk more about guarantees later, but one thing that typically accompanies guarantees is some sort of terms on both sides. So you obviously can't guarantee that you're going to make $5,000 using my system if you don't put in any of the work that the system requires, right? And so ultimately, let's use a separate example really quick. Weight loss offer as an example. If you're 100% confident that if people do what you say in your program that they will lose weight, then a guarantee is easy to make, but they have to actually do what you say in your program. If they don't, then you can't guarantee results, right? And so that's kind of a little asterisk with the guarantee is like you can't obviously guarantee results if people aren't willing to put in any work. And so that's why, as long as you're selling something that works, the guarantee is easy to make, right?
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So clutch. And yeah, I just want to touch on John too. John had a question as well in here of like, what are we, like, are we working for a company or like, why are we doing this? Dakota and I just want to like provide free value into this group. We just want to help you guys, honestly. So literally that's it. We're not, there's not like some big overarching company that we work for. We both own AdClass, right? So we're co-owners of that company. But this group specifically is just free value, like on marketing content that we see working for others. We obviously run our own marketing firm, and so we do this stuff for tons of different clients every single day. And so we're like, well, hey, why don't we like just make a free group and just like help some people out that are getting started or have questions. And so that's what we do in here. So and we also like are committed to not selling stuff inside of this group. So like this, what you see from us in this group is just going to be like value and help. And that's all we really want to do. So.
Yeah, we have other revenue generating activities, the agency, and then we work with people one-on-one as well. So any individualized stuff obviously is different because it takes a lot more time. But this AdClass group is hopefully just going to provide value for you guys.
Yep, exactly. So cool. And then Jason, 30-day money back guarantee would be an example. That's correct. Yeah, you could do a 30-day money back guarantee, but like Dakota said, I think like my personal favorites are when you can make a really strong guarantee that doesn't have to be money related, where it's like, hey, look, we'll get you this result, and if we don't, we'll work with you one-on-one till you do, right? Like that's, in my opinion, a much better way to think about it. Cool. All right, so that's guarantees. Then we basically just reinforce the CTA look. So again, really want you to book that call. We're really excited about chatting with you. And then what we do is also we'll throw in like a CTA screen. So after you're done talking, maybe throw up a final slide that says like, make sure to book your call now. And then if you want to, you can be really creative with a pattern interrupt where you basically like throw some random music on there that wasn't here throughout. But pattern interrupts are great because it basically, if someone's distracted or if someone maybe like went to a different tab or maybe they kind of are like in a trance as they're watching you, pattern interrupts can basically wake them back up and be like, what's going on over here again? And so it can be kind of fun to like just do something a little bit different there. So, okay, those are all the components. If you guys have questions, post them in the chat, and then we're going to move over to the slides. So, Dakota, anything that you want to say as we move over here, my friend?
No, sir.
All right. Let's do it. Cool. All right, guys. So here's an example slide deck. We're going to fly through this puppy, and we'll kind of give you like examples as we go. For whatever reason, there's lots of Oprah in here. So if you're an Oprah fan, you're going to be very happy with this presentation. And if you're not, I apologize. For some reason, I used her picture, and then we just kept on using her picture for whatever reason. Anyways, all right. So first slide. This is your title, right? This is going to be your hook. I recommend this being on your landing page as well. How to achieve insert dream result without insert pain, your name, put it there. Boom. Pretty simple. Who's this for? Then you're going to go ahead and include who's actually should be like who you're talking to, right? The top one should be like your ideal perfect customer, right? Like that's that person. And then you can enter in secondary and tertiary avatars as well. But that's basically just weeding out, saying, hey, look, if you're not one of these people, this presentation is probably not going to help you out, right? And it's better to do that, right? A lot of people are like, hey, I just want as many people to go through my VSL as possible. Cool. But guess what? Then you're going to get a lot of booked calls with people who actually aren't good fits for your offer. So remember, the VSL, yeah, it's warming people up, but it's also weeding people out. Okay, you want to basically only have the people, by the time they're done with this VSL, it should be your ideal clients that want to get on a call with you. And if they're not that person, they should feel like they should leave. Okay.
Yep.
So
100%. That's a really good point, Caleb. And these statements here are like, who is this for? It's for entrepreneurs who are looking to blah, blah, blah. It's for course creators who are doing this or that. It's like very specific, right? And I think where people get lost on this is like, well, don't I want everybody to kind of hear what I have to say? You would if you wanted your sales calls calendar to be flooded with people who aren't qualified, right? So everything in this VSL, it's designed to qualify a lead to get on a call and be ready to close. And so the last thing you want to do is fill sales call calendars or your own calendar if you're the one taking calls with unqualified prospects. So remember that this VSL is literally designed to just qualify people for your product or your offer.
Yep. Exactly. So once you're done with that, and what I want to add in here as well is, like Dakota said before, like, don't get stuck on stuff. So like, don't get stuck too much time, right? That you should move quickly and efficiently. Now, don't feel rushed to where it like looks like you're on crack for the whole presentation, right? Like, that's not what you want, but you also don't want to just be so slow that everyone's leaving. Okay. So you got to find that nice balance, but you should keep healthy movement, I guess is a good way for me to put that. Okay. So next slide, this method has allowed me to, hey, look at this. We're going to qualify ourselves and we're going to build credibility here, right? So insert some cool bullet points. You know them better than anybody else, right? So you can write these down. Next, it wasn't always this way. Okay, so here's where we're going to incorporate a little bit of our story, right? So it wasn't always this way, right? So this guy has definitely got it pretty rough here, right? But insert like maybe a photo of like, hey, this is maybe you when you were starting your business, or hey, maybe this was you at your low point, right? When like before you were able to actually utilize the process that you're going to talk about in the training. Tell your story real quick. Maybe hit a few different points here that you feel like will resonate, right? Like, this was me when I had no money, I didn't have any influence, and I didn't have a strategy. I didn't know what I was doing at this point, right? Boom, you hit that. Cool. All right, so now what are we actually going to cover in this training? Boom. And then look at what we have here. We have our 3 steps, right, that we talked about. Okay, so step 1, we're going to talk about how to accomplish the biggest thing that they want to accomplish, right? So your training points here should be worded in a way that feels almost like other hooks to this, okay? I even often will sometimes use this hook as my step 3 because I'll just repurpose it here at the end and be like, and then that's how ultimately we're going to tie this in. So real quick example, let's just go to the Facebook ads again, right? How to launch Facebook ads without an agency by Caleb Cruz. Okay, when we get over here, what I might write here is at first, I'm going to show you how to write a Facebook ad that will last for a year, right? Boom. That's step number 2, or step number 1. Sorry. Then number 2, I'm tripping over my numbers here. Step 2 is going to be, okay, dude. Cool.
It's 1, 2, 3.
It's 1, 2.
You can do it.
I'm struggling. I'm on the struggle bus with counting today. Okay, so step 2, if I'm just making this up on the fly, guys, so this might not be amazing, but right, like this might be like how I'm using this targeting method to hit my like ideal customer on Facebook or whatever, right? So first one's about like writing an ad that's going to last forever. Second one's about this unique targeting strategy that I'm going to use that no one else can use, right? And then number 3, I might, like I said, again, tie this back in. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to tie all that together and launch profitable Facebook ads without using an agency. Cool. So boom, those are the 3 things we're going to cover right now. For years, I've been working in this industry and I've learned all of these different lessons, or I've been doing this thing forever and I've been through it all, right? And what I'm going to show you is the absolute best way to handle this, right? Like, I've been through the ringer, I've tried the stuff, I've seen stuff fail, I've seen stuff work. This is what works best. And now the reason this is crucial is because something big is changing, right? So one of the things, like, I've written a million different real estate VSLs, and what I often use here is just the market's changing, right? Like, the market is shifting. And so what you're trying to get across to the viewer here is that like there is a big change, and if you're not up to the times with what is happening in this change, then you're going to be irrelevant. Right?
Yeah, and in real estate it's easy, right? Because the market is always changing. But for other offers, you're going to have to really get a little bit creative here. This is a tough piece because you basically need this VSL to be evergreen. what I mean by that is it needs to last for a while, at least a year. Like you should be designing this VSL to last for like a year at least. So, if I was making it today, December 9th of 2022, I wouldn't want to say something like, 2023 is going to bring massive changes unless I was only going to run that VSL for the next year, right?
Yeah.
I would want it to be a little bit more evergreen. So, if you think of, I don't know, Caleb, we could challenge ourselves here and say something like, let's go back to a health offer for a second, right?
Okay.
The human body in health is remaining pretty similar, right, over the last 20 years and probably will continue to. So you can't use like a time-based sort of change here, but you could say something like, this is crucial because diet industries don't want you to know this information, or
Yes.
this is crucial because calorie counting is leaving most people helpless, or whatever, like something like that kind of goes against the status quo thinking, where it's like, let's challenge their belief, right? And basically call urgency to it. So I love this slide, but yeah, it is, you have to be a little creative with other offers outside of like economic offers.
Yeah, really, really good point, dude. Yeah, if you feel like your offer wouldn't work with a time thing, then yeah, do what Dakota did. Go back to your pain points, right, and then work one of your pain points into here, right, or one of the we talked about breaking beliefs, right, breaking and then rebuilding beliefs. Where was that? Somewhere in here, break and rebuild beliefs. That what Dakota just did was a perfect example of that, right? Like this is crucial because this is what doctors don't want you to know, or something, right? And you can use that to work into there.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. Then you want to prove your point. So I've got this amazing graph that means absolutely nothing that we built in here. But what you want to do here is show some sort of data. It doesn't have to be a graph, right? But you could use a graph. You could use screenshots of like news articles. You could use someone else's story, right? But like what you want to do here is like if you said, hey, look, this is really crucial because doctors don't want you to know this. Cool. Then maybe share a news article here where like CBS News talked about how like this doctor had like like been hiding information from his patients or something, right?
Yeah. Or like, hey, the medical industry generates $100 billion a year because
Yes.
because you don't know this or something
Exactly, dude. Yeah, exactly. So that all you want to do is prove your point, right? Use this slide to do that. Next is now that you've kind of built up some of that pain, right? So like the market's changing. You've kind of like talked a little bit about like the pain that they have in here as well. But like basically here's where you really list out the pain. Okay. So like you're as you're working up to this point, you're kind of getting them to understand that you understand them. And then now you're saying, okay, cool. The target market right now. So you're not going to say target market. What you're going to say is whoever your actual main avatar is. So what I would do is pull your person from here, right? Your primary avatar, and I'd use them at the top of this. So if, for instance, Dakota, you were talking about health, right? So if like if your offer is a women's health offer, what you could put right here is women right now are ... right? And then
Yep.
what you could say is pain point 1. Women right now are 1, doing a bunch of calorie counting and it's not working, right? Like Dakota just said. And then or point 2, they're hopping on these diet trends and nothing seems to work, right? They're spending countless hours in the gym and it feels like they're just not losing any weight, whatever, right?
Yep.
So boom.
So Caleb, how would you differentiate this slide from the pain slides earlier? Like, is this would you say this is summing up the what we had already kind of done when we were in the intro building pain, or?
Yes. So this is going to be the sum up because later on in the presentation, what we're going to do when you reveal your solution, you're going to have basically the exact opposite of this slide. So what you're going to do, so right now you're basically listing it out so it's super clear, right? So if we do it like we just said, right, like calorie counting is not working. Step 2 was diets aren't working. Step 3 is the gym isn't working or whatever. What we would do later is we'd say with XYZ method, you don't have to count calories all the time. You don't have to like hop on these diet trends, and you don't have to waste your life in the gym with whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right. So you're kind of creating this as like, here's all the pain summed up, and then later when you introduce the solution, boom, you drop that. And what's up, Brandon? Good to see you, bro. Hope you're doing good. Dakota, Brandon and I worked together back on the Sub 2 brand.
Oh, nice. What's up, Brandon?
Yeah. So anyways, was it Sub 2 or credit stacking, Brandon? I actually can't remember. I don't know. Maybe you can throw it in the chat, but either way, Yeah. So does that make sense? I feel like Dakota, to answer your question.
Yeah. I just wanted you to clarify that. You did. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, dope. So after you've listed out the pain, boom, now you basically have to actually explain like this is actually a big deal, right? Like this is a really big deal because like women are like depressed or whatever it is, right? This is a really big deal because women are spending thousands of dollars on surgeries and or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So like this, you have to actually bring up that like, okay, now you've hit all the pain, but why is it like an actual catastrophe? Like why is this actually something that's bad that should be solved? And you can say that here, okay? So now, as you can see, right, we're 13 slides in. We've just been talking about pain this whole time. So that's why I was telling you earlier why this is so important. You really have to drive those points home. Yes, that's right, Brandon. We were on some too. It was fun. Okay, cool. So what you came here for, right? So this is where you're going to say, all right, now, with all that said, let's get to actually what you came to this presentation for. How exactly am I actually able to lose all of this weight without doing the calorie counting? Or how exactly am I able to actually launch these profitable Facebook ads without having to pay an agency? Okay, so here you're basically bringing them back. You've hit all the pain. Now let's actually dive into the stuff, okay? And look, I'm going to give you a look into my exact strategy, my exact method. I'm going to show you step by step how we do this, okay? And the best part is, even when the worst thing is happening, my system still works. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is basically you're jumping into it, and then you're still, again, hitting, like, this is an objection handler, a perfect way for you to handle objection. So you're going to talk about your system, and then the best part is, even when XYZ is happening, right? So take an objection that you think you're going to get on the phone, right? So what could it be? Could maybe like, okay, if we're going to go off the Facebook ads example, right? If you think that one of your top objections is people are going to say, hey, YouTube ads, everyone's telling me that YouTube ads are going to beat Facebook ads, right? Like YouTube ads are the new thing. So what I might say here, and the best part is, even when everyone else is scaling YouTube ads, this process still works, or something similar, right? What you want to do is try to handle the objection here. And so, boom, my process still works, and I'll prove it. It works well because, boom, here's that slide I was talking about, right? So it works well because, and then you basically reference this slide, right? It fixes all of these things. Cool. So we're going to basically resolve all of our pain, and this is all going to work, okay? And what you've also seen here is like we also haven't done a big reveal of anything yet. Okay, so just saying.
Yeah, we're just solving problems at this point.
Just solving problems. That's it. We're pointing out the pain and showing that we have a way to fix it. Exactly. And then now, okay, cool. We get into the actual root of the presentation, which is, okay, let's go over what everything was. So step one, all you have to do is go back and reference your step one from up here, right? And then you talk about it. You actually show your industry knowledge, okay? So many people overcomplicate this thing. It's actually really simple. Let me show you. Cool. Map out the process for them, right? Show them a diagram. One of the things you don't want is just like the entire presentation to just be like boring text. Give them an infographic, or give them like a picture of like, you know, one of your clients that like is in the middle of doing this process, right? Keep it active, keep it interesting. The system I use works when time you think it wouldn't work, right? Here we're handling another objection, right? So keep the list of objections and pain handy. If you can't tell, you're going to need them a lot. This is the best way to accomplish your results without doing the thing that that nobody wants to do. Okay, so another way to say this would be like, this is the best way to launch your Facebook ads without having to go out and spend, you know, tens of thousands of dollars paying an agency every month. Right?
Yeah, this is the best way to get in the best shape of your life without counting every calorie that you eat. Or this is the best way to make money on the stock market without being at your computer 24/7. Or this is the best way to, you know, get into real estate investing without having $100,000 in the bank.
Right. Exactly. So, and then you, again, hit another objection, right? So, but everybody says that, like you have to count your calories, right? Like everybody says that, like, if you're not able to like know what's coming in your body, then like, you know, how are you ever going to lose weight? Cool. Then you handle it here or whatever, right? Whatever it is, just throw another objection here and handle it again. Because again, you don't want to be doing this on the phone constantly, right? You want people coming in basically not asking you these questions, right?
Yeah, and these objection handles should be easy for you, you know, especially if you're the one that created the product, right? You created it for a reason. You created it to solve problems which are already existing, right? So this is just industry knowledge based on either if you're running ads for yourself, it's your own offer. But if you're running ads for someone else, it's basically where the audience research comes in. It's like, you have to truly understand the pain that people are in and why they're coming to you for a solution. It's because nothing has handled that objection before for them, right? And so this is where, ethically, you're only going to ever want to advertise for a product that you really believe in, because ultimately your product is what exists to solve these problems, right?
Yep, exactly. Then we just move to again, pushing urgency, right? So if women actually want to succeed with losing weight, they have to pivot, right? So, you can't just keep doing the same thing that you've been doing forever. The strategies are changing, right? And you have to be able to adapt, essentially. So that leads me to step 2, right? So this is a really great way to transition into step 2. So if let's go back to that Facebook ad example again, right? So if business owners want to succeed, they absolutely have to pivot, right? If you're not pivoting, then you're going to go extinct. And what you have to be able to do, right? And I think my second example was, like I said, write ads. What was I don't even remember what I said earlier. But anyways, what I was trying to get at is that you have to transition into this. So you should close out point 1 with saying that's why step 2 is so important, and then it just naturally feels like you're flowing into it, right? It really should feel like a step-by-step with them. So if you're gonna start with writing the ad, it was targeting, that's what I talked about. So I was gonna say, if step 1's all about writing the ad, the end of step 1 should move into, but it doesn't matter if you write a really great ad if you don't know who to target, right? And that's why we need to move into step 2, how to target the right people, right? So you should be able to transition there. And then it's kind of the same flow, guys. Step 2 and step 3 is going to be very similar to step 1, right? So most business owners are trying to launch Facebook ads this way. And then, here's a quick visual to show you what I mean. Everybody's trying to launch here on Facebook. They're targeting this thing, and it's just like the boring same old thing. It just isn't working, right? Get them to kind of picture what you're saying. Everybody thinks that they should do it that old boring way, right? So you have to, this is where you're showing them that you understand what they've currently been doing. I was actually on call with one of our clients the other day that works in the contractor space. And he was saying that everyone right now in his niche is looking at to get business from Angie's List, right? Or I think Home Advisor was another one, right? So for him, this would be everybody thinks that you should be going to Angie's List to find more business, right? That's wrong, right? And so you have to be able to communicate, you understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, and shout out here to Nick Fisher, obviously, because that old way, new way is something that he would always talk about. And really that's kind of what this is right here is you're breaking the belief pattern in the old way of doing things and you're bringing in a new way, right? The way that you've created. Yeah. And no matter what, your business and your product is going to be new in some aspects. So this is where you really highlight that piece.
Yep. Exactly. Old way, new way is so powerful, dude. And yes, definite shout out to the big man, Nick Fisher. Love that dude. Okay. The reality is that this will never work. You have to focus on, and then you implement what your stuff is, right? What it is that you're teaching. And then again, that leads me to step 3, boom. And then here, I just threw in an example, right? I talked a little bit about this on the checklist. You can sprinkle in testimonials into your steps if you feel like they apply, right? So step 3, I think what I talked about was writing an ad, targeting the ad. And then I think I said I'm going to show you how to do it without an agency, right? So if step 3 is I'm going to show you how to launch these ads without an agency, boom. Hey, this is Sally. She actually just launched her ads and they're profitable and she didn't use an agency for this at all. Here's her little story. Cool. Then I handle my teaching points. Objection, handle the objection, right? How do we pull this off? This is just explaining the method a bit, right? And then we hit them with basically just a little bit more detail on what we're actually doing, right? Some teaching points. I tried to include a couple of different styles of this, right? So here's a checklist version, here's a Venn diagram version, here's a process version, but you just kind of want to show them what it is that you're doing. And then I finish up with some more testimonials, right? Just like Sally, just like Tim, just like Bob. So you really just have 3 options, right? And this is the frame that we talked about. I know we've got 2 minutes, so I'm going to try to be quick here. What we talked about here is segue into a close with a frame. 2 choices are similar. Okay, so what we meant here is this is exactly that. So you really just have 3 options, right? Option 1, You do absolutely nothing. Nothing's going to change. Option 2, you do it alone. Option 3, you can let me help you, right? So you can see how we're transitioning into the closing section of our presentation by giving them this sort of frame, right? Like you can literally just leave here and absolutely do nothing, right? Or 2, you could go off and try to do Facebook ads on your own based off of what I just taught you. It's probably going to be a little bit difficult. Or 3, you can let me help you, right? What if I was going to launch your Facebook ads with you? Cool, right? So now that actually makes sense. Then sweet, we move into the close. If you had my step-by-step process given to you, if you had, basically a bunch of other media buyers and business owners around you to help you launch ads, if you had all of our methods and systems and processes in place that we use to launch our ads, if we did coaching calls tailored to you, do you think that this could actually work for you? Cool. Well, we're offering free sessions, right? Strategy sessions is very much so like business related. I think if you're like in a health offer, it might be something like free consulting call or consultation. Yeah, exactly. So you basically wrap up with that. We're going to offer this thing. We're going to craft a game plan that's custom to you, and we're going to answer any questions that you have. And then boom, this is that like finishing slide, right? You can take your face off the screen and say, click the button below this video to book your session right now. And then obviously that's where they go off and move to the calendar.